have two subdivisions. Do you guys know what they are?
Synthetic.
Perfect. So, and parasympathetic. Parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system are always, those two nervous systems are always releasing neurotransmitters and they're always active in your body. It just depends on what you're doing. So sympathetic is usually known as your fight or flight mechanism, right? So it's going to kick up when you're fleeing. And your parasympathetic nervous system is more active when you're resting and digesting. So let's say you go to bed at night and you're sleeping. Which nervous system is predominant?
Parasympathetic.
Parasympathetic. What's sympathetic doing? Has it stopped completely?
No.
No, you're still releasing neurotransmitters, just not as much. Okay? Let's say somebody breaks into your house and you wake up to somebody breaking in your house. What happens?
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic kicks up, parasympathetic goes way down. Okay? So it just depends on what you're doing. As you're sitting here in class, maybe you've probably just eaten or you've been running around all day from work. Your probably parasympathetic is starting to kick up, sympathetic is starting to go down. Laying down at night, parasympathetic is dominant. Out jogging or exercising, sympathetic is dominant. So it just really matters. It depends on what you're doing. Okay. Skip that.
Well, you said running is parasympathetic?
Running is sympathetic.
Okay, cool.
So the more active you are, the more your sympathetic nervous system.
The more active you are, the more your sympathetic kicks up. The more stressed you are, the more your sympathetic kicks up. Okay. And this, yesterday we talked about, they had a lot of questions about stress and
active and
exercise.
stress.
And what happens is, basically neurotransmitters are going to be released when you're stressed out. Let's say you're fleeing. But if it's long-term stress, let's say day in and day out, you're really stressed. It's been a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. Let's say you have a chronic illness or what have you. You're going to release more hormones. And so hormones are going to be dominant for stress, like cortisol. Like you're going to release a lot of cortisol. And so epinephrine is going to mellow out, but you're going to release a lot of stress hormone. So short-term effect is neurotransmitter, long-term effect is hormone. Okay, so let's get down to the neurotransmitter that's released and the receptor that it binds to. Because this is really where it's at. Okay? If we're talking about somatic nervous system, somatic nervous system, can you guys see it over there? Yeah. So somatic nervous system, the nerves, the cell bodies usually originate in the central they originate in the central nervous system, right? So the cell bodies start in the central nervous system, and then they exit the spinal column, and they synapse with a muscle. Okay, so here's my skeletal muscle. What neurotransmitter are these guys going to release? For somatic. Can you see on the picture? What does it tell you? Acetylcholine. Okay, so ACH. So they're going to release ACH, right? And that ACH is going to bind to a specific type of receptor. And this, aside from knowing the divisions, you guys should really know the neurotransmitters and what receptors they bind to. Good Lord. Okay. So on this guy, you have a ligand-gated receptor, just like from nerve to nerve communication, except for it's going to be nerve to skeletal muscle communication. So this guy is going to release acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is going to bind to this receptor and cause this guy to excite and ultimately contract, right? Because that's why we have skeletal muscles, to contract and provide movement. what, receptor type is it? It is called, nicotinic cholinergic type receptors. Okay, so you have cholinergic type receptors in your body, and you have adrenergic type receptors in your body. When we're talking about skeletal muscle, the receptor that they have is specifically nicotinic cholinergic receptors. Okay, so this guy is gonna bind, actually, let me write it up here. To this receptor, and this is a nicotinic cholinergic receptor. Okay, so the category of receptors is a cholinergic type receptor. The specific type of this receptor is called a nicotinic
And that's only
cholinergic
in
receptor.
skeletal muscle. The nicotine.
Skeletal muscle, perfect, yep. And it was named nicotinic cholinergic receptors because they found that it can bind specifically nicotine. So that's how they came up with the name. Okay, so when we talk about somatic nervous system, it's always gonna be a nerve synapsing with the skeletal muscle. It's always gonna be acetylcholine released at this, this end, this varicosity is what they're called. And it's always gonna bind to nicotinic type cholinergic receptors. Okay.
What's called the varicosity? The location.
It's the ending, the terminal button of the nerve, like the little synapse at the synapse. The ending of nerves are typically called varicosities, like that whole little area. Okay, so somatic nervous system, you have acetylcholine release, it's gonna bind to nicotinic cholinergic receptors and pop them open. And then sodium's gonna rush in, depolarize the skeletal muscle and cause contraction. And we'll learn about skeletal muscle after you take your exam. For autonomic nervous system, it's a little bit different. And we already talked about that, so it's gonna antagonistically control cardiac smooth muscle and glandular homeostasis. Okay.